The sandstorm hit without warning, turning the Arizona territory into a howling beast of dust and fury. Elias Turner gripped his horse's reins, squinting through the stinging wind as visibility dropped to nothing. 26 years old, and he'd never seen a storm this vicious. His cattle drive was scattered, his men disappeared into the brown chaos, and now he was alone, truly alone, for the first time since leaving his family's ranch in Montana. Through the screaming wind, he spotted movement. A figure stumbled through the sand, wrapped in tattered silk that had once been beautiful. A woman. She fell to her knees, and instinct overrode Elias's natural shyness. He dismounted and ran to her, pulling her against his chest as debris pelted them both. Before we continue with Elias and this mysterious woman's story, I want to ask you something important. If you're enjoying this tale, please take a moment to subscribe to the From Wild West channel and hit that like button. Your support truly matters. It helps us bring you more quality stories like this one. I'd also love to know, where are you listening from right now? Drop a comment and let us know. There, she shouted in accented English, pointing to a rocky outcrop barely visible through the storm. Shelter! They ran together, Elias's arm around her waist, half carrying her as the wind tried to rip them apart. Behind the rocks, someone had left an old canvas tent, probably from a mining expedition years ago. It was small, barely big enough for 2 people, but it was shelter. Elias pulled her inside and secured the flap as the storm raged outside. In the sudden dimness, illuminated only by the dusty light filtering through canvas, Elias got his first real look at her. She was perhaps 23, with olive skin and dark eyes that held depths of sorrow he recognized. Her black hair hung in a thick braid over her shoulder, and despite the layers of dust, she carried herself with unmistakable grace. The silk she wore, deep blue with golden embroidery, was torn and filthy, but it had been expensive once. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. She pulled off the silk scarf covering her face, revealing high cheekbones and full lips cracked from thirst. "I thought I would die out there." Elias nodded, unable to find words. He'd always been this way around women, tongue-tied, awkward, more comfortable with horses than people. His brothers used to tease him mercilessly about it. At 26, he'd never even kissed a girl, too shy to approach the saloon women and too poor to court respectable ladies back home. "I'm Elias," he finally managed, pulling his canteen from his belt. "Here, drink." She took the canteen with shaking hands, her fingers brushing his, even through his nervousness. He felt the jolt of that contact. "I am Zara," she said after drinking deeply. Zara al-Rashid. The name was foreign, exotic, and suited her perfectly. "You're a long way from wherever you're from," Elias said, then winced at how stupid he sounded. "Persia," she said softly, "though I have not seen my homeland in 5 years." Her face hardened. "I was brought to America as a bride for a merchant in Santa Fe. But he was not a merchant. He was a criminal. A man who trades in stolen goods and worse things." She met Elias's eyes, and he saw steel beneath her fear. "I ran 3 days ago. I took his best horse and rode into the desert. I would rather die free than live as his possession." Elias felt anger kindle in his chest, hot and unfamiliar. He wasn't a man who got angry easily. His shyness usually kept him from strong emotions around others. But the thought of someone treating this woman like property made his hands curl into fists. "You're not going back," he said, and was surprised by the firmness in his own voice. "You're safe now. Zara laughed bitterly. Safe? In a tent, during a sandstorm, miles from anywhere, with no food or water beyond what you carry. She shook her head. I have escaped one prison, only to find another made of sand and sky. The storm howled outside, and Elias realized she was right. They were trapped here together until it passed. The tent was tiny, forcing them to sit with their knees nearly touching. He could smell her perfume beneath the dust, something floral and spicy that made his heart race. We'll survive, he said quietly. When the storm passes, we'll find my men, my cattle drive. We're headed to Prescott. You can come with us. Start fresh there. She studied him with those dark eyes, and Elias felt like she could see right through him, see the scared boy beneath the cowboy exterior, the man who'd never had the courage to be bold. Why would you help me? You don't know me. Because it's the right thing to do, Elias said simply. And because, he swallowed hard, forcing himself to meet her gaze. Because nobody should be alone in a storm. Something shifted in her expression, a crack in the armor she wore. You are not like other men I have known, she said softly. I'm not much of a man at all, Elias admitted, the words escaping before he could stop them. I'm 26 and I've never… I don't. He felt his face burning with embarrassment. I'm just a ranch hand who's good with animals and not much else. To his surprise, Zara smiled, the first real smile he'd seen from her. It transformed her face, made her luminous despite the dust and exhaustion. Perhaps that is exactly the kind of man the world needs more of. The storm lasted 3 days. 3 days trapped in that small tent, where every movement brought them into contact, where the desert cold at night forced them to share body heat, where conversation became the only way to pass the endless hours. Elias learned that Zara had been a scholar's daughter in Tehran, educated in literature and astronomy, fluent in 4 languages. She'd been promised to the merchant by her uncle after her father's death, told she would have a good life in America. I was foolish to believe him, she said on the second night as they huddled together for warmth. The temperature had dropped drastically after sunset, and Elias had given her his coat, leaving him in just his shirt. She'd insisted they share it, wrapping it around both their shoulders, pulling them close. I should have known better, but I was desperate, and desperate people make poor choices. You're not foolish, Elias said. His arm was around her shoulders now, her head resting against his chest. The intimacy should have terrified him, but somehow it felt natural. Safe. You're brave. You ran. You chose freedom. Freedom, she whispered. What is freedom when you have nothing? No money, no family, no home. I traded one cage for a larger one. Elias felt her shiver against him, and without thinking, he tightened his embrace. You have me, he said quietly. I know that's not much, but you have me. She tilted her head up, looking at him in the darkness. The tent was pitch black now, but he could feel the weight of her gaze. Elias Turner, she said, his name like music in her accent. You say you are not much of a man, but you have shown me more kindness in 3 days than anyone has in 5 years. That is everything. His heart was pounding so hard, he was sure she could hear it. They were so close, her breath warm on his neck, her body pressed against his. Every nerve in his body was alive, screaming at him to do something, be bold, take a chance. I've never, he started, his voice cracking. I don't know how to. Shh, she whispered, and then her hand was on his cheek, her palm soft against his stubble. I know. I can tell. There was no mockery in her voice, only tenderness. Would you like me to show you? Elias couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only nod. A tiny movement in the darkness. Zara's lips touched his, gentle as a desert breeze, and Elias felt his entire world shift. Her mouth was soft, patient, moving against his with a tenderness that made his chest ache. He'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, always assuming he'd be clumsy, embarrassing, that whoever kissed him would laugh at his inexperience. But Zara didn't laugh. She kissed him like he was precious, like they had all the time in the world. Her hands moved to his hair, fingers tangling in the strands, and Elias felt something unlock inside him. All the fear and shyness and self-doubt burning away in the heat of her touch. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zara pressed her forehead to his. Her kiss made him a man, she whispered, and Elias realized she was quoting something, or perhaps writing their story in real time. I feel different, he admitted, his voice rough, like I've been asleep my whole life and just woke up. Good, she said, kissed him again, deeper this time. Because I need you awake, Elias Turner. I need you brave. On the morning of the 4th day, the storm finally broke. They emerged from the tent into a transformed landscape. Sand drifts had created new hills. The sky was impossibly blue, and in the distance, Elias could see riders approaching. My men, he said, relief flooding through him. But Zara had gone rigid beside him, her hand clutching his arm. No, she said, fear sharp in her voice. Those are not your men. Elias looked again, and his stomach dropped. 6 riders, but they weren't wearing the simple gear of cattle drivers. These men had rifles across their saddles, and they rode with the confidence of hunters who'd found their prey. It's him, Zara whispered. Hassan, the merchant. He's found me. The lead rider was a heavy man with a black beard, dressed in an expensive suit that looked absurd in the desert. Even from a distance, Elias could see the cruel set of his mouth. The men flanking him were clearly hired guns, the kind who'd shoot first and ask questions never. Get behind me, Elias said, his shyness evaporating in the face of real danger. He checked his revolver. 6 shots, and he was a decent marksman when shooting targets. But men? He'd never shot a man in his life. You cannot fight them, Zara said desperately. There are too many. Please, Elias, just let me go. I won't let him hurt you because of me. Elias turned to look at her, this woman who'd somehow become the most important thing in his world in just 3 days. You're not property, he said, repeating words that had become a mantra between them during the long nights. You're a person, and I'll die before I let him take you back. Her eyes filled with tears. You foolish, brave man, she whispered. I should never have kissed you. I should never have made you care. Too late, Elias said, and stepped forward to meet the riders. Hassan reined in his horse 20 feet away, his dark eyes moving from Elias to Zara with open contempt. So, he said in thickly accented English, my runaway bride has found herself a cowboy protector. How touching. His smile was a slash of white in his beard. Give her to me, boy, and you can ride away. Fight, and my men will leave you for the buzzards. She's not yours to take, Elias said. His voice was steady despite the fear churning in his gut. She's a free woman, and she's staying with me. Hassan laughed, and his men joined in. A free woman? I paid good money for her passage from Persia, for her keep, for her education and wifely duties. She is mine by contract and custom. Step aside, boy, before you get hurt." No. The single word hung in the desert air like a challenge. Hassan's smile faded, replaced by cold rage. "You dare?" "I dare," Elias interrupted, and drew his revolver. His hand was steady, steadier than it had any right to be. "She's not going anywhere with you. Now turn around and ride back to wherever you came from, or we'll have a problem." One of Hassan's men, a scarred gunslinger with cold eyes, laughed. "Kid, there's 6 of us and 1 of you. Even if you're fast, and you don't look fast, you'll get 1, maybe 2 shots off before we cut you down." He was right, and they all knew it. But Elias didn't move, didn't lower his gun. In that moment, he understood something fundamental about himself. He might be shy, awkward, inexperienced in love and life, but he would not be a coward. Not when it mattered. Not when Zara was counting on him. "Then I guess you better be sure you're not one of the first 2, Elias said quietly. The standoff stretched, tense as a wire about to snap. Hassan's face had gone purple with rage, and his hand moved toward his own weapon. The hired guns shifted in their saddles, preparing to draw. And then the thunder of hooves shattered the moment. Elias's cattle drive crew appeared over a sand dune, 15 armed men with his foreman, Old Tom, in the lead. They spread out in a line, rifles drawn, facing down Hassan's smaller group. "Having trouble, boss?" Old Tom called out, his weathered face split in a grin. "We heard there was a storm, came looking for you. Seems we arrived just in time." The odds had shifted dramatically. Hassan knew it. His men knew it. The merchant's face twisted with impotent fury as he stared at Zara. "This isn't over," he snarled. "I will find you again. I will take back what is mine." "She was never yours," Elias said. "And if you come near her again, I won't be holding a gun next time. I'll be holding a rope, and we'll find a tall tree. This is the American West, Hassan. We don't take kindly to men who treat women like property." Old Tom spat tobacco juice in the sand. "Kid's right. Best you ride out now, mister, while you still can." For a long moment, Hassan stared at them with undisguised hatred. Then he jerked his horse around and spurred it viciously. His men followed, and soon they were just dust on the horizon. Elias's legs nearly gave out as the adrenaline drained away. Zara caught him, her arms around his waist, and he held her tight, burying his face in her hair. "You were magnificent," she whispered. "Terrifying and magnificent." "I was terrified," he admitted, laughing shakily. "I'm still terrified." "But you didn't run," she said, pulling back to look at him. "That is what makes you brave." Old Tom rode up, eyeing them with open curiosity. "So, Elias," he drawled, "you want to introduce us to the lady you're apparently willing to die for?" Elias felt his face heat up. Some things never changed, but he met his foreman's eyes steadily. "This is Zara al-Rashid," he said. "She'll be traveling with us to Prescott. And," he took a deep breath, "and she'll be staying with me after that, if she'll have me." Zara's eyes widened. "Elias?" "I know I'm not much," he said quickly, the words tumbling out. "I'm shy, I'm awkward, I don't have much money saved up. But I'll work hard. I'll protect you. And he swallowed hard. "I'll love you, if you'll let me. I know it's only been 3 days, but those 3 days changed everything. You changed everything." She was crying now, tears cutting clean tracks through the dust on her face. "You foolish, perfect man," she said, and kissed him right there in front of his entire crew. Yes, I'll have you. I'll stay with you. Together." Elias echoed, the word that had become their promise during those long nights in the tent. Old Tom cleared his throat. Well then, he said gruffly, suppose we better get moving before any more vengeful merchants show up. We've got cattle to deliver, and a wedding to plan, seems like. The cattle drive to Prescott took another 2 weeks. Zara rode beside Elias, learning to handle a horse properly, to read the stars for navigation, to shoot a rifle with surprising accuracy. The men accepted her quickly, partly because she worked as hard as any of them, helping with cooking and camp setup, partly because they could see how she and Elias looked at each other. "Never thought I'd see shy Elias Turner smitten," old Tom said one night around the campfire, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But I gotta say, miss, you brought something out in him. He faced down 6 armed men for you. That takes a special kind of courage from a special kind of love." Zara smiled, her hand finding Elias's. "He was always brave," she said. "He just didn't know it yet." But it wasn't all smooth riding. 3 days from Prescott, trouble found them again. They were camped in a canyon when Elias woke to the sound of horses approaching. He grabbed his rifle and shook Zara awake, pressing a finger to her lips. Outside, he could hear angry voices, and one of them was Hassan's. "I tracked you," the merchant's voice echoed off the canyon walls. "Did you think I would give up so easily? She cost me too much money to let some cowboy boy steal her away." This time Hassan had brought more men, at least 20, enough to overwhelm Elias's crew. They'd chosen their moment well, waiting until the cattle were bunched in the narrow canyon with limited escape routes. "What do we do?" Zara whispered, her face pale. Elias fought fast. The canyon had a back trail, narrow and treacherous, but it led up to the rim. If he could get Zara up there— "Listen to me," he said urgently. "There's a path behind us, about 50 yards east. Take it up to the canyon rim. There's a town called Cedar Springs about 5 miles north. You can see it from the top. Ride there. Get help." "No," Zara said immediately. "I won't leave you. I won't run while you fight my battles." "You're not running," Elias said, cupping her face in his hands. "You're surviving. That's what you do. You survive. And when this is over, I'll come find you. I promise." "Elias!" "Turner," Hassan's voice boomed. "Send out the woman and we ride away peaceful. Keep her, and we'll kill every man here and take her anyway." "You have 1 minute to decide." "Go," Elias urged, kissing her hard and fast. "Trust me. I'll come for you, but I need to know you're safe, or I can't think straight enough to fight. Please, Zara, please." She looked into his eyes, and whatever she saw there made her nod. "Together," she whispered. "Together," he promised. "Always." She slipped away into the darkness, and Elias moved to where old Tom was organizing the men. "She's getting help," he said quietly. "We just need to hold them off." "Against 20 guns?" Old Tom shook his head. "Kid, I've known you since you were 16. I've watched you grow up shy and uncertain. But tonight, you became a leader. Whatever happens here, I'm proud to stand with you." What followed was chaos. Hassan's men attacked at dawn, and the canyon became a killing ground. Elias and his crew had the high ground and cover, but they were outnumbered 3-1. The fight lasted hours, bullets ricocheting off rocks, the air thick with gun smoke. Elias fought like a man possessed. Every shot he took was for Zara. Every moment he held the line was buying her time to reach safety. He wasn't shy anymore, wasn't uncertain. He was a man protecting what he loved, and that made him fierce. But numbers tell in the end. Hassan's men began to flank them, pushing forward despite their losses. Elias took a bullet in the shoulder, impact spinning him around. He fell behind a boulder, blood soaking his shirt, his vision swimming. "Boss," old Tom shouted, crawling over to him. "You're hit bad." Keep fighting, Elias gasped. Don't let them through. Zara needs time. The thunder of hooves interrupted him. But these weren't Hassan's men. These were cavalry soldiers, dozens of them, pouring into the canyon with rifles blazing. Leading them, incredibly, was Zara, her hair streaming behind her like a battle flag. She'd made it to Cedar Springs and found an army patrol. She'd brought salvation. Hassan's men broke and ran, but the soldiers were faster. Within minutes, the merchant and his remaining gunmen were surrounded, disarmed, and in chains. Zara leaped from her horse and ran to Elias, falling to her knees beside him. "You idiot," she sobbed, pressing her hands to his wound. "You beautiful, brave idiot. I told you not to be a hero." "Couldn't help it," Elias said, his voice weak but steady. "You kissed me, made me into a man. Men protect the people they love." "Go slow," she whispered, tears falling on his face. "Please, Elias, don't leave me. We have a life to build together." "Not going anywhere," he promised. "Takes more than a bullet to keep me from you." The cavalry's doctor stitched him up right there, and though the wound was serious, it wasn't fatal. Elias would carry the scar forever, a reminder of the day he stopped being shy Elias Turner and became the man who fought an army for love. Hassan was arrested and taken to Santa Fe to face charges of kidnapping and attempted murder. The judge, hearing Zara's testimony about her captivity and forced engagement, sentenced the merchant to 20 years in a territorial prison. His hired guns got lighter sentences in exchange for testimony, but they'd never trouble Zara again. 6 weeks later, in Prescott, Arizona territory, Elias Turner and Zara al-Rashid were married. It was a simple ceremony. Old Tom served as best man, and the crew formed an honor guard with their rifles. Zara wore a dress the town seamstress had made, cream-colored calico with blue embroidery that reminded Elias of the silk she'd worn the day they met. "I, Elias Turner," he said, his voice steady despite his nerves, "take you, Zara al-Rashid, to be my wife. I promise to protect you, to honor you, and to love you every day for the rest of my life. You made me brave. You made me a man. And I'll spend forever trying to deserve you." Zara smiled through happy tears. "I, Zara al-Rashid, take you, Elias Turner, to be my husband. You showed me what freedom truly means. Not just escape from captivity, but the courage to choose love. You saw me as a person when others saw property. You are my home, my heart, and my hero. Together." "Together," Elias echoed, and kissed his wife for the first time as a married man. They bought a small ranch outside Prescott, using Elias's savings and money old Tom lent them. It wasn't much at first. A cabin that needed repairs, a few head of cattle, land that required hard work to tame. But they built it together, side by side, equal partners in every way. Zara proved to have a gift for breeding horses, combining her knowledge of Arabian bloodlines with the hardy Mustang stock of the West. Within 5 years, their ranch was known throughout the territory for producing the finest horses in Arizona. Elias handled the cattle side, his shy nature making him patient with animals, his newfound confidence making him a respected rancher. They had 4 children, 3 daughters and a son, each of them taught to read and write by their mother, to ride and shoot by their father. The girls grew up strong and independent, knowing they were just as capable as any boy. The son learned gentleness from his father's example, understanding that true strength came from protecting others, not dominating them. On warm evenings, Elias and Zara would sit on their porch, watching the sun set over their land, their hands intertwined. Sometimes they'd tell their children about the sandstorm that brought them together, about 3 days in a tent where two strangers became something more. "Tell us about the kiss," their youngest daughter would beg. "Tell us how Mama made Papa brave." And Zara would smile at her husband, this man who'd faced down armed killers for her, who'd built a life with her from nothing but love and determination. "Your father was always brave," she'd say. "He just needed someone to show him." "And you needed someone to see you," Elias would add, pulling her close. "Not as property, not as a possession, but as the extraordinary woman you are." Years later, when Elias was 50 and his hair had gone gray, a young cowboy came to their ranch looking for work. He was shy, uncertain, uncomfortable in his own skin, and Elias saw himself in that boy's nervous eyes. "You ever been in love?" Elias asked him. One day, as they mended fences together, the boy blushed crimson. "No, sir, I'm not. I don't know how to talk to girls. Always too shy." Elias smiled, thinking of a sandstorm in a tent and a woman who'd changed his life with a single kiss. "Let me tell you something," he said. "Being shy doesn't mean being weak, and the right woman won't need you to be smooth or confident or any of those things. She'll just need you to be honest and brave when it matters and willing to see her as a person worth protecting, not because she's weak, but because she's precious." "How will I know if she's the right woman?" the boy asked. "You'll know," Elias said, "because she'll make you want to be brave. She'll make you want to be more than you thought you could be. And when that happens, hold on tight and don't let fear stop you. Love is worth fighting for. It's worth everything." That night, lying in bed with Zara's head on his shoulder, Elias thought about the journey that had brought them here. From a shy cowboy who'd never kissed a girl, to a man who'd fought an army for love. From a desperate runaway bride to a successful rancher and mother. They'd built something beautiful together, something that would outlast them both. "What are you thinking about?" Zara asked sleepily. "About a tent in a sandstorm," Elias said. "About a kiss that changed my life." She tilted her head up, and even after all these years, his heart still raced when she looked at him like that, like he was her whole world. "Want me to kiss you again?" she asked, eyes twinkling. "Just to remind you what it feels like?" "Always," Elias said, and she did. Outside, the Arizona desert stretched endlessly under a blanket of stars. The same stars that had witnessed their beginning. The ranch was quiet, their children sleeping safely under the roof their parents had built together. And in that bedroom, a shy cowboy and a desert princess held each other close, still learning what it meant to be brave, still discovering what love could build from nothing but courage and commitment. Some stories end with a kiss. Theirs began with one, and it led to everything. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Were you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Elias and Zara's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.